Welcome to the CompTIA Security Plus SY0-701 Question Bank Series. In this video, I've got 15 exam-style practice questions lined up for you, covering the kind of general security concepts, threat and vulnerability, security architecture, security operations, and program management scenarios you'll see on the real SY0-701 exam. Each question comes with the correct answer and a full explanation, including why the wrong options are wrong. Here's how to get the most out of this. When a question appears, pause the video, pick your answer, then hit play to check yourself. Ready? Let's dive in. Question 76. A user logs into their company portal and is then able to access a third-party SaaS application without logging in again, because the company's identity provider asserts the user's identity to the application. Which standard commonly enables this exchange? The correct answer is D, SAML. Security assertion markup language exchanges authentication assertions to enable federated single sign-on to SaaS applications. Now, why the other options are wrong? Radius is incorrect. Radius is a centralized AAA protocol for network access, not web-based identity assertions to SaaS apps. Kerberos is incorrect. Kerberos provides ticket-based authentication, typically within a single domain rather than across web SaaS providers. TACACS Plus is incorrect. TACACS Plus is an AAA protocol used mainly for device administration, not federated web SSO. Question 77. An incident response team wants a documented, sequenced set of actions describing how to respond to a ransomware incident from detection through recovery. Which document best fits this need? The correct answer is A, Incident Response Playbook. A playbook lays out the sequenced response steps for a specific incident type, such as ransomware. Now, why the other options are wrong? Network diagram is incorrect. A network diagram depicts topology. It is not a response procedure. Acceptable use policy is incorrect. An acceptable use policy governs user behavior and is unrelated to incident response steps. Business impact analysis is incorrect. A BIA assesses the impact of disruptions. It is not a step-by-step response procedure. Question 78. A risk analyst estimates that a single flood would cause $200,000 in damage, and that a flood occurs about once every 20 years, an annual rate of occurrence of 0.05. What is the annualized loss expectancy, or ALE? The correct answer is B, $10,000. ALE equals SLE times ARO, which equals $200,000 times 0.05, which equals $10,000 per year. Now, why the other options are wrong? $200,000 is incorrect. $200,000 is the single loss expectancy, SLE, the damage from one event, not the annualized figure. $4 million is incorrect. This multiplies the SLE by 20 years instead of by the annual rate of occurrence. $20,000 is incorrect. This uses an incorrect rate of occurrence. The correct ARO of 0.05 yields $10,000. Question 79. A company's leadership formally defines the amount and type of risk it is willing to accept in pursuit of its objectives. Which term describes this? The correct answer is C, risk appetite. Risk appetite is the amount and type of risk an organization is willing to accept to meet its objectives. Now, why the other options are wrong? Residual risk is incorrect. Residual risk is the risk that remains after controls have been applied, not the level the organization is willing to accept. Risk register is incorrect. A risk register is a log of identified risks, not the defined acceptable level of risk. Inherent risk is incorrect. Inherent risk is the risk present before any controls are applied. Question 80. After a company applies all of its planned security controls, some risk still remains. What is this remaining risk called? The correct answer is D, residual risk. Residual risk is the risk that remains after controls have been applied. Now, why the other options are wrong? Inherent risk is incorrect. Inherent risk is the risk that exists before any controls are applied. Risk transference is incorrect. Risk transference shifts risk to a third party. It is not the leftover risk itself. Total risk is incorrect. Total risk is the full risk faced before any treatment is applied. Question 81. Which document defines what employees may and may not do with the organization's computers, network, and internet access? The correct answer is A, Acceptable Use Policy. An acceptable use policy sets the rules for permitted use of the organization's IT resources. Now, why the other options are wrong? Service level agreement is incorrect. An SLA defines service performance commitments with a provider, not employee use of IT resources. Business continuity plan is incorrect. A business continuity plan describes how to keep operating during disruptions. Memorandum of Understanding is incorrect. An MOU expresses general intent to cooperate between parties. Question 82. Two companies establish a master contract that sets the general legal terms governing all of their future engagements, so individual projects only need a short statement of work. Which agreement is this? The correct answer is B, Master Service Agreement. An MSA sets the general terms governing ongoing engagements, with individual SOWs covering specifics. Now, why the other options are wrong? SLA is incorrect. A service level agreement specifies service performance levels, not the overarching legal terms for all engagements. NDA is incorrect. A non-disclosure agreement protects confidential information only, not the broader contract terms. BPA is incorrect. A business partners agreement establishes the terms of a partnership or joint venture, not a master contract for services. Question 83. A company wants the contractual ability to inspect a cloud vendor's security controls and practices during the engagement. Which clause should be included in the contract? The correct answer is C, Right to Audit Clause. A right to audit clause grants the customer the contractual right to audit the vendor's security controls. Now, why the other options are wrong? Non-compete clause is incorrect. A non-compete clause restricts competitive activity and is unrelated to inspecting a vendor's controls. Indemnification clause is incorrect. An indemnification clause allocates liability between parties, not inspection rights. Force majeure clause is incorrect. A force majeure clause excuses performance during extraordinary events. It does not grant audit rights. Question 84. An online retailer that stores and processes cardholder data must comply with which of the following standards? The correct answer is D, PCI DSS. The Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard applies to organizations that handle cardholder data. Now, why the other options are wrong? HIPAA is incorrect. HIPAA governs protected health information, not payment card data. SOX is incorrect. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act governs financial reporting for public companies, not cardholder data. GDPR is incorrect. GDPR governs the personal data of EU residents broadly. It is not the specific standard for cardholder data. Question 85. To reduce fraud, a company ensures that the person who requests a payment cannot also approve it. Which principle does this enforce? The correct answer is A, separation of duties. Dividing a critical task so no single person controls it end-to-end is separation of duties. Now, why the other options are wrong? Least privilege is incorrect. Least privilege grants minimum access. It is related but does not specifically split a task between people. Job rotation is incorrect. Job rotation moves staff between roles over time to surface irregularities, a different control. Mandatory vacation is incorrect. Mandatory vacation requires time off to help reveal hidden misconduct, not the division of a single task. Question 86. An organization's own staff periodically review its controls and processes to verify compliance with internal policies and report findings to management. Which type of assessment is this? The correct answer is B, internal audit. An internal audit is conducted by the organization's own personnel to evaluate controls and compliance. Now, why the other options are wrong? External audit is incorrect. An external audit is performed by an independent outside party, not the organization's own staff. Penetration test is incorrect. A penetration test actively exploits technical vulnerabilities rather than reviewing policy compliance. Bug bounty is incorrect. A bug bounty pays external researchers for discovered flaws. It is not an internal compliance review. Question 87. Before building its recovery strategy, a company identifies its critical business processes and determines the impact of their disruption over time. Which activity is this? The correct answer is C, business impact analysis. A business impact analysis identifies critical processes and the impact of their disruption to guide recovery priorities. Now, why the other options are wrong? Penetration test is incorrect. A penetration test assesses technical security, not the business impact of process disruption. Risk transference is incorrect. Risk transference shifts risk to a third party. It is not the analysis of disruption impact. Change management is incorrect. Change management governs how system changes are made, not the impact of disruptions. Question 88. Part of security awareness training teaches employees to notice and report unusual situations, such as a coworker accessing systems at 3 a.m. or an unexpected request for credentials. This primarily addresses which goal? The correct answer is D, recognizing and reporting anomalous behavior. Training users to spot and report unusual activity strengthens human-based detection. Now, why the other options are wrong? Data classification is incorrect. Data classification labels data by sensitivity. It is not about recognizing unusual behavior. Patch management is incorrect. Patch management applies software updates and is unrelated to user behavior recognition. Network segmentation is incorrect. Network segmentation isolates systems and is not a security awareness training goal. Question 89. A regulation requires a financial firm to keep certain transaction records for 7 years and then dispose of them securely. Which type of policy governs how long data must be kept? The correct answer is A, data retention policy. A data retention policy defines how long data must be kept and when it should be securely disposed of. Now, why the other options are wrong? Acceptable use policy is incorrect. An acceptable use policy governs how IT resources may be used, not how long data is retained. Incident response policy is incorrect. An incident response policy governs handling of security incidents, not data lifespan. Password policy is incorrect. A password policy governs credential requirements, not data retention periods. Question 90. In a data governance program, which role is ultimately answerable for a dataset's protection and proper use, even though others carry out the day-to-day safeguards? The correct answer is B, data owner. The data owner is ultimately accountable for the data's protection and appropriate use. Now, why the other options are wrong? Data custodian is incorrect. The data custodian implements the technical safeguards day to day, but is not the ultimately accountable party. Data processor is incorrect. The data processor handles data on behalf of the controller and is not the accountable governance owner. End user is incorrect. The end user works with the data within granted permissions, but is not accountable for its governance. And that's a wrap on this video. Nice work getting through those 15 questions. If this helped, you're going to want the complete set. All 540 exam-style questions, with full explanations across all 5 SY0-701 domains, are available in my Udemy course, CompTIA Security Plus, SY0-701, 6 practice exams. The link is in the description below. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next video, where I'll walk you through 15 more questions. See you in the next video!